Sophie Cunningham, one of the few players on this team that will outwardly, publicly say what many of us are fans are thinking to ourselves.
Nobody was supposed to see the document, yet at 1:17 a.m. Eastern, a draft memo marked internal only discipline recommendation slipped out of League HQ and into a beat writer group chat. The leak claimed the WNBA's front office had sketched a punishment package for Indiana Fever guard Sophie Cunningham, a multi-game suspension, a 5-figure fine, and a conduct review clause that could linger on her record for years. 8 hours later, the official press release told a radically different story. Just one flagrant 2, no suspension, and a $400 slap on the wrist. Inside, sources say a midnight phone call from Cunningham's agent flipped the switch, released the heavy hammer, and will unload every receipt that proves you failed to protect Caitlin Clark for 2 seasons straight. That rumor lit up social feeds like jet fuel.
And you come in and see something looking really wrong, you're going to call it out. It is what it is. You're going to be critical of players if they do something shady or classless. You're going to call that out.
By sunrise, Sheeran Cancel Sophie had collided with Catcher Spicy Sophie, and the algorithms had themselves a Friday feast. The WNBA looked as if it had tried to silence its newest cult hero, only to backpedal at the very last second. How did one player force an entire league to blink? And what does it say about a business model balanced on a single superstar's health? Buckle up, because the most expensive $400 in league history just exposed the crack running beneath the W's shiny new surface. When Caitlin Clark arrived in 2024, the effect was instant and volcanic. ESPN's regular season numbers jumped 170% year over year, the biggest spike in WNBA history. WNBA empty upper bowls started selling out, and the top 7 most watched games ever on ESPN platforms belonged to Clark's rookie summer.
Salute to Sophie Cunningham. Not only does she stand up for Caitlin Clark on the court, but she stands up for Caitlin Clark in the media as well.
Corporate partners called it the Clark effect and scribbled bigger checks. But behind the confetti, the ledger stayed stubbornly red. Financial filings obtained by Sports Pro show the league still bled roughly $40 million that same record-setting year. Sports Pro staffers joked that the WNBA was a Silicon Valley startup in sneakers. Grow fast, lose cash faster, trust future TV money to save the day. And TV money now flows, or dries, almost entirely according to Clark's availability. Internal tracking confirms it. The week she sat with a groin tweak last June, national averages for Fever games plummeted from roughly 1.9 million to under 800,000. Ticket brokers in Phoenix, Chicago, and even Las Vegas reported walk-up sales crashing 30% on nights Clark didn't play. One exec summed it up in a single Slack line: no 22, no eyeballs, but eyeballs attract elbows. By late July 2024, Clark had absorbed a staggering slice. 17% of every flagrant foul the league whistled that season, despite logging fewer minutes than half the veteran All-Stars. Reddit analysts called the number statistical whiplash. Players called it rookie tax. Fans called it open season. The collision course was set. June 17, 2025. Fever lead the Sun by 17, 46 on the clock. Garbage time rhythm everyone coasts through, until J.C. Sheldon claws at Clark's face, the same accidental swipe that forced Clark to miss playoff minutes the year before. Marina Mabre compounds it with a blunt force shoulder that bounces Clark onto the hardwood. Referees answer with 2 technicals and a flagrant one. Enter Sophie Cunningham, black belt since age 6, reputation baked in Phoenix as Spicy Sophie. She races across the lane, hip checks Sheldon off her shoes, and drags her to the floor. Bench is empty, whistles scream, Gainbridge erupts like fourth quarter Game 7. 46 seconds later, she's ejected, Clark is back on her feet, and the league office has a fresh headache. Social media devours the tape. A courtside mic captures Cunningham barking, "If the refs won't do the job, I will." Within an hour, the clip racks up 10 million loops on TikTok. By lunch, it's front-page material on every sports blog. A fan launches a GoFundMe titled Pay Sophie's Fine, and at press time, the crowdfund sits north of $30,000, easily covering the penalty 10 times over. The morning after the melee, the WNBA announces the $400 punishment. No suspension, no additional review. Reddit roasts the coffee budget fine. YouTubers spin it as proof the league protects enforcers over superstars. Cunningham, meanwhile, checks her phone, plus 350,000 new Instagram followers. TikTok tripled to 1.2 million. Fanatics lists her Fever number 8 jersey with a red sold-out restock July 8th. Digital marketing firm STN Digital later values the two-day surge at approximately $1.1 million in earned ad reach. Brands notice. Adidas adds a playoff bonus clause. Quest Nutrition bumps her rate card from 5 figures to the low 6s. One activation manager quips, $400 bought her a sports marketing engine you couldn't build with $500,000 in agency fees. The league's attempt at discipline, intended to quell noise, instead supercharges it and shines a Klieg light on the bigger issue. Who exactly polices the on-court chaos? Just 10 days after Cunningham's tackle, Clark tweaks that same groin and sits 3 straight games. ABC's primetime slot swaps out Fever versus Liberty for Aces versus Sky and loses nearly half its projected audience. Newspaper columnists call it the cliff test. Remove one athlete and watch the sport's entire economic scaffolding wobble. Even teams not named Indiana feel it. Dallas moves an August matchup against the Fever into 20K seat American Airlines Center because demand would drown their usual 7K arena. Mavs Moneyball executives crunch the numbers. Clark now touches more than half of every mainstream metric the league sells. Viewers, clicks, merchandise, sponsorship chatter. When she sidelines, everything slides. Social engagement drops 55%, local concessions shrink, and corporate partners quietly ask if contingency impressions are built into next year's contracts. One streaming rights negotiator warns, if the W can't guarantee the draw, we discount the deal. Pressure cooks culture. Veterans, some future Hall of Famers, bristle at questions asking why a rookie commands chartered flights, prime TV slots, and front-page placement. Fan vote returns for the 2025 All-Star Game make Clark the runaway top pick. Player vote nearly leaves her off the starters list. Coaches issue chippy pregame sound bites. Earn your stripes. It's still women's basketball, not Caitlin ball, and the hits keep coming. Flagrant head-high screens, hip checks, hand fights off the ball. Officials whistle what they see, miss what they don't, and message threads erupt each night. Where's the consistency? Cunningham's Enforcer Act isn't just about bruises. It's rebellion against an officiating trend that left the league's MVP candidate on her back too many times to write off as mere coincidence. Sources inside the league say whistle crews walk a razor, call every bump and the pace slows, swallow whistles, and the highlight clips turn gladiatorial. TV wants both, the showcase skill and the shoulder-to-shoulder grit. The line blurs in real time. Combine that with rosters where half the players grew up battling Clark for AAU or college supremacy, and you get a melting pot of grudges ready to boil. Cunningham's $400 answer forces an institutional question. Should the WNBA adopt an NBA-style star protection ethic? Purists cringe. Broadcast partners nod furiously. Union reps stay cagey. Fines are cheap, but missed paychecks for suspensions cut deep. So referees jog the parquet, night after night, eyes darting between elbows and three-point arcs, praying the next viral clip isn't theirs. Negotiations for the next rights cycle oscillate between euphoria, we've never had this kind of buzz, and dread, what if the buzz is one ankle twist away from vanishing? League officials float a record approximately $200 million per year target. Network lawyers quietly attach star protection language, stipulating partial refunds if marquee players miss more than 10 broadcasts without medical exemption. Behind closed doors, one exec lays it bare. No star, no premium. investors remember the 2024 loss column. They also see the fever pitch merchandise spikes every time Clark sinks a logo 3 or Cunningham drops a shoulder. The upside is staggering, but the risk profile climbs with every uncalled hit. If the product looks more roller derby than basketball, sponsors balk. If the whistles get too tight, old school fans gripe. The next decade's revenue curve hangs on getting that calibration right. Through it all, Indiana quietly stacks wins. Clark averages 21-9, Cunningham chips in 12 points, 2 steals, and an attitude opponents now calculate around. Fever go 9-4 in games where she picks up at least 1 hard foul, 3-6 when she doesn't. Coincidence? Maybe. But coaches preach chemistry, and players swear intangible guts translate into box score win shares. Merch charts hint at something deeper. Cunningham vaulted from middle of the pack to top 5 league-wide in jersey sales, out-moving even 2-time MVPs in certain weeks. Quest Nutrition ships a limited spicy Sophie energy bar that sells out online in 11 hours. Marketing gurus call it the Protector Premium. Fans reward the sidekick who keeps the dragon alive. 1 tackle, 1 tiny fine, 1,000-megawatt spotlight. In less than a minute of game clock, Sophie Cunningham forced the WNBA to confront its fault line. How do you grow a league when the entire market pivots on a single lightning rod rookie? Ignore the targeting and you risk injuring the crown jewel. Over-officiate and you sand the edge that makes pro hoops addictive. So the league hangs in suspension, literally and figuratively, between the whistle and the wallop. Cunningham's bank account says confrontation pays. Clark's bruises say protection matters. Broadcasters, sponsors, and millions of new fans hover in the comments, waiting to see which way the scales tip. And the rumor that started it all? It's still drifting through DMs and group chats. Half redacted, half believed, all consuming. The W tried to cancel Sophie. Sophie canceled the fine instead. If that story proves true, the next rumor might be even juicier. That a $400 invoice set off the chain reaction that finally forces the WNBA to choose between chaos and cash flow salvation. Drop your take below. Will more players eat fines to play vigilante? Or will the league rewrite the rulebook before somebody lands a punch that can't be monetized? Smash that like, hit subscribe, and stay tuned. The next flagrant could change everything. Again.